I'm Narelle Todd.
And I'm Essie Susan Smith.
We are the self-publishing author and marketing duo that has sold over 2 million books. But we didn't start out knowing how to sell books. Fast forward past many failed promotions and a lot of lessons learned, you will see how we went from self-publishing newbies to hitting the New York Times bestsellers list and making the USA Today bestsellers list 19 times and counting. We created the Get My Book Out There podcast to give you simple yet effective marketing strategies to increase readership and book sales, so you know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, as well as some tips for staying mentally and physically well.
Let's get started.
And we want to talk to you today about conventions. So they're back up and running, they're in person, and you can get to go them as a reader, as an author. And we want to talk to you about 3 things today about conventions. So Susan, I know you've started going face to face.
Yeah, at least here in the United States. I know Australia's still off limits.
Yeah.
You guys are still on the virtual ones. Are you still on the virtual ones, or have they even done those?
No, we're doing both. It's just that we have breaks every now and then because we go into lockdown, and so we go back to virtual again. So I wouldn't.
That's bad.
Yeah. We'll just look at everywhere else but us. So conventions.
Well, I have to say that this last one, I was really impressed because I had a couple of authors that are planning on going to the Books and Ball Gowns that is going to be in Australia, I believe next year in 2022.
Really? Wow. Okay.
That's what they're saying. I think it's 2022. It could be 2023. I'll have to double check, but I know that they're really excited about it.
Well, fingers crossed, because that would mean we can get out and people can come in. That would be phenomenal. I know I'm sick of being here. I go somewhere that's not here. Okay, back to conventions. That's much more interesting than Australia. Okay, why should we attend conventions?
Well, I look at it from 2 points of view. I look at it from both a reader's point of view and an author's point of view. And from a reader's point of view, it was really interesting that this last convention, I had sat down with 2 sisters who loved to read and had never been to a convention before. When they came, you could tell like they were very nervous at first because they weren't sure what to expect. And they realized that it was so much fun. You know, you get to meet and mingle with other people who love to read the same kind of books that you do, who are just as enthusiastic about all of the events that are going on. And they do have a lot of events. They have a lot of author panels. They have a lot of meet and greets together, lunches and dinners, and after parties. Which are really cool. Plus, of course, the book signing. But the biggest thing is they get to meet with other people that are really love the same thing that they do. They love to read, and they discover all new authors and all new types of books, and they actually get to meet the authors. And many, many times as a reader, you end up forming friendships that last far beyond just that convention. So from a reader's point of view, why should you attend? It's a great way to meet other people that really enjoy what you enjoy doing. And from an author's point of view now, it is a fabulous way to meet other authors and network, which is always great because I'm always learning something new, either about the trade or, about, get introduced to new readers, but, find new authors for myself to read. And you learn new trade things that help you in your business. Then the best joy is actually to be able to sit down and listen and talk with the readers. It was really interesting. I went to the after party and, they had all these tables and it was kind of a little bit dark. And I came in a few minutes late and there was this table with these 2 women sitting there. And I asked them, I said, do you mind if I sit down? And lo and behold, it was these 2 sisters, and this was their very first convention. So one of the sisters and another author had gotten up to go get drinks. And I was talking to the one sister, and she says, I can believe when my sister called and said she'd heard about this convention, and she said, we're going, and she dragged me to it. And she says, we've had so much fun this weekend. And she says, but the biggest reason that we came was because my sister wanted to meet this one author named S.E. Smith. And I started laughing and I says, well, I'm S.E. Smith. Now, and then it was just like, oh my gosh. And we just had the greatest evening just sitting and chatting. And of course, it always grows. And there was other authors coming over and chatting with us. And the table had like 10 people at it. And it was just a wonderful experience to get to meet and chat with new people. And yet at the same time, I had all these authors coming over and we had, this camaraderie because we were there. And I think one of the biggest things I hear over and over is that, especially romance readers are the best tribe. And they call it a tribe because they said it's just this big loving community that they love to read, they love to hang out, they love to learn about new stories, and they love coming to the different panels that the authors give, and they find out new things about the authors that they may not have known about.
Yes, readers are certainly invested. I noticed that to the few conventions I've been in America. You run your conventions quite different to how we do in Australia. And the author-reader engagement is phenomenal over there. So what do you think, readers and authors can expect from a convention? Run through that.
Well, first of all, you'll end up with the registration, and they usually make it very seamless. If you go to especially some of the more seasoned conventions that have been doing it for a while, they have everything just runs like clockwork. And you go out, you let them know your name, they register you in, they give you your packet of information. You usually get a bag filled with all kinds of goodies from the different authors. And they give you a map with a list of all the schedules. And they had an escape room, they had a photo booth, they had a hallway set up with chairs and tables for people to hang out with and play games if they wanted to. Or like me, I met with another author, and that one author that I had scheduled to meet with, it ended up being, I think there was 16 of us by the time we went to lunch. So it just kind of, people just kind of gravitate towards you. And that's the way it is. That's the joy of it. And you can go sit down in the lobby, and the next thing you know, there'll be all kinds of people, authors and readers mingled together, sitting there with you. And so just expect a really, really brilliant time. You'll learn a lot, you'll get a lot, and you'll have a great time. You're bound to come away not only with more than a few good books, but with more than a few good friends.
Yeah. I would certainly say make sure you bring an empty suitcase because seeing some of the stuff that people like, because you just seem to collect, books, obviously, but more than what people were expecting. You always hear those kind of comments like, I only was going to get 5 and now I've got 50. And plus all the swag and that sort of stuff that you get. So the swag is phenomenal. My goodness. Yeah. There's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I'm kind of known as the swag queen because I look for really cool swag that is not only really cool, but that is functional. So I'm always looking for something that you're going to be able to use later on. And one of the fans are really popular, especially if you're in Florida. And I like the ones that I have one that's actually a digital one that'll go around with a message. And then I have the ones that fold so you can actually slide them in your purse or your back pocket and then pull them out and they pop open and you can use them. So I'm really big about fans living in South Florida. But I've had readers that are like going through a heat wave up in Canada, and they've posted photos of their fans going, thank you, as they're like, and I'm laughing because it's like 80 degrees up there and we're 95, 96 degrees. And then toolkits, I've got my MacGyver pen that I call it. So I always look for really good, interesting swag that readers can use, they're going to want to keep, because you want to have stuff that they're going to keep, not throw away. And it's functional. But I can agree with the books because one of especially when I was in Australia, oh my goodness, I've never seen, the readers would literally come in with a huge suitcase on wheels and they would just load it up. And then here, there was one lady, she said, well, I went to the author release party And she says, I went to get one book, I walked out with 13. So, these are the kinds of things that, make you excited, not only as a reader, but as an author.
Yes, I think it doesn't matter how much you say, I'm only going to get that one book or whatever. You'll always come away with at least two. So come prepared with a suitcase because you know the reality of what is going to happen. Yeah. So how do you
It'll
find
save on your
conventions?
back.
Yeah, yeah. How do we find conventions? So, as a
So,
reader, as an author, is it different?
it is for readers and authors. One of the first things I suggest is if you're a brand new author, don't be afraid to go to a couple of conventions as a reader, because then when it comes time to try to apply to go as an author, you're going to feel a lot more confident. You're going to know more of what to expect. So I would suggest, if you're a brand new author and you're wanting to get into going to the conventions, which, let me tell you, are great for networking and exposure. They're not great on the return on investment right at the beginning. So if you hear the ROV, that means return on investment, or ROI. You may not get your money back at the very beginning, but in the long run, you're building that relationship with readers and with other authors. And so it takes time, but it's worth it. But as an author, I definitely recommend going as a reader to a couple of conventions to get the feel of what to expect and to know what to buy. If you're going to the book signings, take a look at all the tables and how they're decorated. See what kind of materials you may, as an author, need to have. So to find some of these conventions, look around locally. So you can go to Eventbrite. That's Event, BRITE, and you can actually do a search in there for book conventions and then see which ones are located near you. So just in Florida alone, I can tell you that there are dozens of them. And some of the ones I go to are Space Coast Book Lovers, Books at the Beach, Orlando Reads, Shameless, Coastal Magic. That right there is 5 conventions that you can go to in a year. So, and they're all, I haven't been to Books at the Beach yet, so this is going to be a new one for me, but I can tell you the others are pretty mid-sized. So they can have like 400, 500, 600 people attending or more. So those would be what you would call your mid-size ones. And those are really nice because they're big enough that you're going to have that variety, yet small enough that you can still get together in groups and have fun and meet people.
Yes.
And you can find them on Eventbrite and on Facebook. So you can actually look at book lover groups, book clubs, and then ask people in the group, do you go to conventions? Do you know of any conventions that are going to be held in specific places that you would be interested to go? And then find some friends, make it a girls' weekend out, or even a husband. There's a lot of husband and wives that enjoy going to these book conventions, because the conventions I go to are not just women. There's a lot of men, and there's a lot of men authors that are getting into it. So, don't be afraid to look around. And, if you're nervous about going alone, find somebody. If you're not nervous about going alone, I guarantee you within a couple of hours, you're going to have somebody to hang with.
That's for sure. And as an author, it's probably best to start, say, looking now for 12 months ahead, because most conventions you would
At
need
least 12 months ahead,
Yeah.
sometimes even 2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of these conventions, they'll have a set number of authors that they will take in. So you'll need to, especially if you're a newer author, they want people that are going to be drawing in readers as well, because they need to make so much on the convention to help pay for it. I can guarantee you that none of the convention organizers make money on these events. They do it for the love of writing. They do it for the love of the readers and the love of the authors. And so one of the things I would suggest doing is looking 1 to 2 years ahead. That's one of the things, and they will have this stuff usually a year in advance. But if you hear about a convention like Shameless or Orlando Reads or Coastal Magic or Base Coast Book Lovers, they've been doing it for quite a few years. So they will have that information available, and, approach them and say, listen, I'm an author. I would like to attend your event as an author. Can you sign me up? If you don't have any spaces this year, I'd like to be put on the list, for the following year.
Yeah. And then in the interim, obviously go as a reader so that you get to know the organisers, because I think that also is helpful in getting signed up as an author to the next one.
But if you do now, and a word of caution, this is very important. This will kind of be like another added tip for authors. If you do go as a reader, go as a reader. Do not talk about your books. Do not try to pimp your books. Do not especially try to sell your books there. That is like, very bad author etiquette and almost guaranteed to get you banned forever on their blacklist, where they will say, no, we will not have this author at our event. So you want to be very courteous and just go and have fun and learn. And yes, you can say, yes, I'm an author, but I'm attending as a reader this year. And if you talk to other, readers, you can mention that you're an author, but don't try to pimp your books out. Don't try to sell your books out of the back of your car or your hotel room, because that is guaranteed to get you blackballed.
Yes. Yeah.
And I hate having to say that, but it's something that some people may not think about.
Yes. And you do see it. And yes, as you say, it's not good etiquette. And obviously the organisers wouldn't appreciate it. So you would be remembered for the wrong reasons. The purpose of going as a reader, when you're an author, going as a reader is obviously to experience the convention, but also to meet the conveners and, to say, hey, look, I'm a good bet for your next one. So make sure that you do follow the rules, and yes, don't be scammy. Yeah.
And know that there is a difference in price wise, so when you go as a reader, your tickets are a lot cheaper. And so then if you go as an author, because as an author, you are helping sponsor this event. So you may be spending, $400 or $500 for a table. And then you may end up buying additional, ads or something. So it's going to be a pretty hefty investment. So that's something that you don't want to mess up. If you do that and you upset the organizers, they can ask you to leave.
Yeah. And the same, obviously, as a reader around, keeping to etiquette of conventions. You don't want to be too clingy or go stalkery on, your favorite author or anything. You want to make sure that you're also playing by the rules.
Yes. And literally, you just don't have time because there's so much going on.
Yes.
And there really is a lot going on. But as an author too, you want to spend that time with the readers. One of my favorite things to do is I don't drink alcohol simply because I'm a cheap drunk, not because I don't like it. It's just I fall asleep, and me sitting in a chair snoring is not going to be very impressive. So I do like to sit. If they have like a bar area or a lounge area, that is one of my favorite places to sit. And I'll order, water or, usually water and an appetizer, and invite people to come sit with me. And I mean, usually, like I said, you'll start out with 1 or 2, and then next thing you know, it's 10 and 15 and it's 3 a.m. And you're thinking, oh my God, I've got to be at this panel at 8 in the morning, and I still have to eat breakfast before that. So don't plan on getting much sleep when you go to the convention. You'll have to wait until you get back before you can, as a reader and as an author, catch up on your sleep.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Oh, it's great to be that conventions are back in person again. I think it's we're all ready for face-to-face again, I think, as well as virtual. I don't think that's going to go away.
I love that, they took a lot of precautions, so there was a lot of precautions that were taken. The hotel staff was great about cleaning. They had wristbands that had green, yellow, and red. So the red meant no, don't touch. I'm not comfortable with you touching me right now. I'm going to wear a mask. The yellow was, I'll do fist bumps or elbow bumps with you, but I'm not into hugs or anything else. I'm still being cautious. And then the green was like, oh yeah, come here, and hug and photos and things like that. So they were really cautious and conscious about the fact of where your comfort level was.
Yeah,
And
that's
you'll
a
find
really
that
good way.
whether we're in a pandemic or not. But
Yeah.
I really like that. As long as you had that on, the readers knew, hey, is she someone that I can approach and, take photos with, have a photo op with? And that was a really good opportunity.
That is such a great idea. Because as you say, it gives
I
people
was
can
really
automatically
impressed.
see, if you're a hugger or not, or if you're, tactile, all of those things that is obvious just by looking. That's brilliant. I like that one. I have to remember that.
So it's something that, I think it's something that all of the convention organizers should think about, because you do have a lot of people who are not as, with me, I'm a hugger. So I'm like, it's fine. But I know a lot of others that are not. And, and it doesn't mean that they're not friendly. It just means that you're pushing them. Already going to the convention may push them out of their comfort zone.
Yes.
This is like pushing them way over.
Yeah.
And they
I
have it
think
for
it's
the readers as well. So I've met
yes.
readers who, there was one, I think she was in Australia when I went to the convention there. And normally she doesn't like to be touched. She doesn't want to, it was just her thing. She did not like to be touched. And so it was really surprising after her and I had talked for a while. She's like, okay, you can wrap your arm around my shoulder, so that was like a breakthrough. But it was, otherwise, she would just be like, I'm not comfortable with this, and so that was a good way, would be a good way, for her to also deal with authors who are like me, that are like, come on, group hug, type thing.
Yeah. It has uses way beyond just where we are currently with health.
Yeah.
I like that. Rightio. So conventions.
So that's my convention.
Yes, your convention wisdom. Yeah, we love conventions. Certainly, American is very different. Even the UK one that we went to was a little bit different again. So, different countries, I think, do conventions differently. So go have a look, see what they're like, where you are, find them. You can do searches, ask your friends, go find out where they are. If you're an author, make sure that you look well ahead of time if you want to go as an author, because you will need to apply. And plus you need to start planning for it because there's a cost involved there as well. So we hope that you found these tips of use.
Hope everyone has a great week.
See ya. And look for Susan in the bar. Bye.
Bye.
Hey, thanks for joining us today. We've got way more information we want to share with you to increase your book sales. So please come and join me at facebook.com. Get my book out there.